There are three types of layouts mainly. These are linear layouts, relative layouts, and constraint layouts. We will be looking at linear and relative layouts in this training and will not look at constraint layouts. Let's start with linear layouts first. Let's go to the activity_main.xml file and remove this part of this line for constraint view from here and change it to a linear layout. As soon as you will type LINE, the IDE will give you suggestions and you can select linear layout from these. The IDE is very helpful this way, since we do not need to learn by heart the proper names of the various tags for working with XML. The IDE does most of our job for us. We just need to get our concepts clear. Now, the moment we do this, you can see that something like this will get reflected in the preview screen. As you can see, this space is created for us now and the text Hello World shifts to the top left-hand corner. This means that the constraints that were earlier making the text appear in the center do not hold any meaning to the linear layout. So we can go ahead and remove these constraints from here. To format the code, we can use the shortcuts Ctrl-Alt-L for Windows users and Command-Options-L for Mac users. Remember these shortcuts well, since they will be used frequently. Formatting makes the code look better by giving it proper indentation, etc. Now, as you must have understood, this linear layout is the layout or the view group object and this text view is the widget or the view object. And this linear layout is the parent tag that will define how the widgets will be arranged on the screen. Now, the term linear layout means that all elements will be arranged in a linear manner, that is, one after the other. So, the linear layout can have two orientations, horizontal and vertical. Let's set the orientation to vertical. For this, let's start adding the orientation attribute to this linear layout tag. Start by typing orientation and select from the options that the IDE provides. And then inside these double quotes, type V and then select vertical. Let's understand what just happened here. First, we have the namespace Android. Then, we add the colon, then the attribute that we need. So here we have typed orientation, then we put the equal to sign. Now, all the values of attributes in XML are string types, so we will always have the values in double quotes. Then inside the double quotes, we give the value, in this case, vertical. Now, we saw here that we hardly typed any code, since the IDE provided most of the options. We will follow the same practice throughout the training and we recommend you to do the same. Now let's understand the code that is written here. This here is the parent tag. Mostly these tags are view group objects. In this case, we have used the linear layout view group. Next, these three lines are namespaces and the IDE adds them on its own, so we don't need to worry about them. We will never have to add them manually. Next, we have these width and height attributes. Now you can see that both their values are given as match_parent. This means that both the height and width will match the value of the parent. And since the linear layout is the parent tag, it means that this will match the height and width of the screen. Next, we have this orientation attribute, which is set to vertical. This means that every new child will be arranged one below the other. Then we have this line, which tells the compiler that this layout will be visible in the main activity. That was all about the parent tag. Now let's come to this child tag. The name of this tag is text view, which means that this tag holds some text inside it. This text is static text, which is used to display some information on the screen. Here, the text is this Hello World. Now, since we had already declared the namespaces in the parent tag, we do not need to define them again here. Again, similar to the linear layout, we have the height and width attributes here, but the value here is set to wrap_content. This simply means that it will take up as much space in which the text can fit itself. So the height and width will vary according to the text that we give here. Next, we have the text attribute, whose value is the text that we want to display on the screen. Now, if we change this text to something else, the changes will be reflected in the preview screen here. Also, the width of the text view will be adjusted accordingly. That was all about the code that is written here. It was pretty simple to understand, right? Now let's look at this preview screen. We can resize the window to make the text editor look big. You need to simply place your cursor on these partitions, click and hold and drag them to the left or right. Also, inside the preview, you can zoom in or zoom out by clicking on these plus and minus icons present on the top. Let's change this text to Android development within Ternshala. Now here, if you see, this text is getting highlighted by the IDE. Let's hover over it to see what the IDE says. The IDE says, hard-coded string Android development within Ternshala should use string resource. What this means is that a better way would be to create and store all strings at one place and then refer to them whenever we use them. Now, we may or may not want to take this suggestion, since the code will still work fine even without doing this. But we will learn how to do this in just a bit. So let's leave this for now. Here you will also see that we have used the short syntax for closing the child tag. That was all for this video. In the next video, we will add more child tags and elements to the screen.